the festival was about 10 days long, and we performed 6 days in a row, the last 6 days of the festival.
We have learned so much during this whole process, and it has been such a luxury, really, to have the CEI grant so that we could actually take this time to do the research, because you really have to make space to push everything else that you're doing out of the way, and to be able to go to the Netherlands and to go to East Germany, to be there and to talk to the people who went through it, because you can really feel it when you are in Berlin, and people want to talk about it. You know, the biggest thing I think we learned was like that people who had lived through this and came from East Germany, and they said, you know, it's not only bad what we have experienced, there were many, many good things that are not mentioned, you know.
The good, sensitive, thoughtful, intellectual people from both sides of the wall have never fully had an opportunity to, we've had opportunities to change ideas and concepts, but to put them into place someplace and see what would happen.
Like the first wall we did yesterday. So it will be like...
With a little bit of a bow in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a sort of curve.
Not too much adaptation to the architecture.
Yeah.
The CEI grants are about that. They're not about product, they're about process. The skill set of the people is the way they make theater, which is very, very visual, is a lot different than what, I mean, not that we don't do stuff that's visual, but it's just very different. It took a lot of work and time, which we had, to feel one another out and figure out the things that we could successfully build on, you know, from one side of our wall to the other.
Cirkel aan de overkant, de Pruisische adelaar vliegt.
And also because the two groups work in such completely different circumstances, because they are in a very rural setting. For them to also to be able to come here to Los Angeles and to be in the heart of Los Angeles on Skid Row, that was a very intense experience for them. And they also said, you know, it's something that we heard about and we see things on television, but you never know what it is until you smell it.
That's what I said when I was over by their pig farm.
That's true. We smelled the pigs.
They raise pigs.
Yeah, that's true.
So Jonas, it is just that we want to be behind each other's back?
Yeah.
Or that we are...
Well, whoever is behind each other's back gets to, if you get behind the other back, then the other person has to go like this, and then, you know, you're following, and then you get down to the other end.
If it's a real exchange, you have to develop a new language. It's not just one person who says, now we're going to do it this way, but it was a real, you know,
but also
layering.
especially if you want to go deeper into it and not just hit the obvious sort of cliche, funny things that seem funny and kitschy about the Cold War. That was something that we could have done. Personally, I wasn't going to let that happen. You know?
Head of a unified party. As premier, I promise to provide leadership and stability after this moment of uncertainty.
It was actually a pretty diverse audience because the festival was something that took place in a big park, and there was a lot of food stands and music and beer, and there was theater. So it was sort of a big, more carnival kind of atmosphere. There was really serious theater, but it wasn't, you didn't have to be into serious theater, you could just be into partying and also go there.
So that's the Dutch way, John.
So, yeah.
One of the complications was that we were working in English and Dutch. And, you know, and so, for example, the Christa Wolf text, John really chose most of the text for Christa Wolf, which was translated out of German in English. But then I performed Christa Wolf, and it had to be in Dutch because everybody was concerned that because it's such literary text that people thought if we do it in English, people will not understand it, the Dutch audience. 3 dagen voorbij in mijn droom. Een duizelingwekkende val door lagen die steeds dikker werden. Lucht, water, slijk, vuilnis, kiezeltjes.
For me, I was really happy that we got pushed it to the place we did, and because it was so, because I thought we hit on some really deep questions that both, dealt with the Cold War in a way that was, not the obvious way, and that the issues that were left were so intrinsically important, not just to the Cold War, but to life, itself, and the issues that we face, and it just, people living their lives. That I thought we really hit on something deep, and would love to pursue it even further.
And that's something that I really learned, that ultimately it comes down to respect and to not trying to change somebody else. En de man die in onze dossiers beschreven werd als de onofficiële medewerker, met de opdracht om ons jarenlang te bespioneren, die speelde een grote rol in onze verhuizing. Uiteindelijk werden we tegen hem aan in de auto gepropt.
At this dinner we had in Berlin, there was a guy who had lived in the East and then gone to the West before the wall came down, and he said it always comes down to an exchange between 2 people, the border guard and you, and so that's the same story.
Yeah, and the mason who builds the wall and you.